When Suzune woke the next morning, the nurse was gone, but she did not despair. If she ever needed her, the nurse would be there for her again. Oh god, is it her tulpa? Of that she was sure. She's crazy. Good morning, Miss Endo. The nurse who came to take her temperature was the usual one, not the one who'd been there in the night. Good morning. A natural smile came to Suzune's face. She felt deeply grateful that she'd gotten to live to see another day. The weather was nice, so after lunch, Suzune headed out into the courtyard. More than anyone else, she hoped to run into Takuya. She'd understood his outlook on the world the moment she learned of his condition. Plus, it was kind of cute seeing how hard he tried to hide the way he felt. Ah, she's playing with him! The fondness she felt for him was like that for a younger brother. At some point, she realized that they had a special bond. There was a sense of solidarity, knowing that they were both waiting on a transplant for an otherwise incurable disease. She wanted to say that the things she told him the day before, that was just her searching for an ideal, something to live up to. She wasn't philosophical, she wasn't enlightened, she just wanted to be honest about how hard it was every day. Surely, he would understand. But Suzune didn't see Takuya in the courtyard that afternoon. She made small talk with several other patients like she usually did, then headed back to her room. It would be a dark twist if he suddenly died. Takuya didn't turn up the next day either, nor the day after that. She would look up at his window from the courtyard, but she never saw him. Where was he? Had his condition taken a turn for the worse? Was he no longer well enough to go outside? Suzune had never been to the second floor where his room was, but she knew the first floor well enough that she could guess the layout well enough to avoid getting lost. With that in mind, she decided to pay Takuya a visit. She went up to the second floor, walking slowly as she eyed the nameplates for the rooms along the courtyard side. There, right about where she expected it to be, she found it. Takuya Kazama. She'd been afraid that his nameplate had been removed. If it hadn't been there, that would have meant he'd been discharged. That his room had been swapped for some reason. Or else. What does the red thingy mean? As Suzune was about to knock, a voice called out from behind her. Miss Endo? She turned around to see an unfamiliar nurse standing there. Perhaps she was in charge of the ward, or had seen Suzune walking around before, and that was how she knew her name. Yes? Suzune asked. Were you looking for Takuya? Yeah. I hadn't seen him in a while, so I was wondering. I'm sorry. Takuya wants to get out more than he does, but honestly, he's not in any shape to be moving around much. We're worried about infection as well, so we've limited his visitors. You probably shouldn't be wandering this far yourself. The nurse pointedly pulled the sliding door to Takuya's room closed. If I could just see him real quick. No, the nurse snapped. Then hurriedly cleared her throat and spoke more softly. You wouldn't want his condition to get worse, would you? Suzune saw that she'd have to back down. She returned obediently to her own ward. Really? Just like that? At least knock, let him know that you care for him. He would be glad about that. But she had a hard time accepting the fact that she couldn't visit Takuya. Does that nurse have some kind of grudge against me? Not only does she know my name and know about my condition, she must also know that I've been talking with Takuya in the courtyard. Yeah, it's kinda weird. Does she think I'm the reason his condition has gotten worse? Suzune knew that his health wasn't as good as he might have claimed, and she felt a little guilty that she hadn't been as considerate as she perhaps should have. After that, whenever Suzune went out for a walk, she made a point of swinging by Takuya's room, asking several nurses and doctors about his condition. They would always say he was doing fine, but staunchly refused to let her see him. Is he maybe already... Suzune couldn't help but imagine the worst. Is everyone just working together to keep me in the dark? But why would they do that? Do they think I'm his girlfriend and they're trying to keep me from the shock of finding out or something? No, that was ridiculous. Besides, this was a hospital. Suzune knew full well that they didn't have the time to put on some weird piece of theater after a patient had passed away. There must be some other reason. Some reason they don't want us to see each other. Willing to do whatever she could to discover that reason, Suzune tried changing the time of day that she stopped by Takuya's room. Maybe, if nobody was watching, she'd be able to sneak a peek inside. If someone happened to be coming or going, she might even be able to get a look at his face. But Suzune never imagined the way she'd finally wind up seeing him again. On that day, she had been hiding behind one of the heated meal carts used for delivering dinner to the patients. She followed the orderlies as they brought the cart towards Takuya's room. They'd have to open his door in order to bring his meal inside. His tray, sorry. But before she reached his room, the door swung forcefully open, and the bed was swiftly pushed from inside. Doctors and nurses, their faces pale, ushered it along, pushing the meal cart out of the way as they raced down the corridor. Takuya lay on the bed, his eyes closed, his face severely jaundiced. He didn't appear to be conscious. Takuya! Suzune cried out without thinking. One of the nurses glanced back at her briefly before disappearing from sight with the others as they brought the bed into the elevator. Oh crap, man. Takuya. As Suzune stood there dumbstruck, her eyes straight to the open door to his room. With shaky footsteps she went inside. Takuya's room was largely the same as her own. There was a locker by the entrance, along with a small refrigerator. Over by the window was a TV stand. Next to that was a bookshelf, packed with books. She picked up one of the books atop the bedside table. It was a beginner's primer on topics such as organ transplantation and brain death. On the bookshelf were other more difficult-looking medical volumes, intended for experts. Takuya's been studying up on diseases? I wonder if he's been holed up in here reading these the whole time. Maybe he'd overdone it, studying. That would be a cruel irony. Suzune prayed to a god she had never before believed in. Please, save him. He didn't induce his own brain death in order to save her, did he? Because he found out that he has Bombay blood. That would be too much, I think, for me to handle right now. That would be crazy, man. Takuya blarily opened his eyes. This wasn't his room. An artificial respirator was fitted over his nose and mouth, and several tubes ran between his body and a hemofiltration machine. Vinyl curtains enclosed the area around his bed. A machine that regulates electrolytes and removes waste products from the blood in lieu of the kidneys, used to assist patients with decreased kidney function. Purifying the blood too quickly can, however, result in a collapse of the body's electrolyte balance, leading to headaches or muscle spasms. I never knew it could go too quickly. There's something I learn every day with this game, fuck me. He was in an ICU, intensive care unit. Several people bustled frantically about. The last thing Takuya remembered was being in his room. Was that minutes ago? Or has it been days? Excuse me. Could someone... Takuya paused. His voice didn't even sound like his own. Doctor, he's regained consciousness, a nurse announced. At that, the face of his attending physician, Dr. Saiki, suddenly came into view. He was wearing an operating mask. Oh, are they currently operating? Fuck! Takuya? The doctor said. Please hang in there. Takuya! It sounded like his father and mother were there, on the other side of the curtain. If the staff had called him there, did that mean he was on the brink? Oh man, this is getting too much for me right now, sorry. What day is it? What was that? The respirator was making Takuya's voice hard to understand. He struggled to form the words. Today. What day is it? It's April 5th. April 5th. There was still over 3 weeks to go until his 15th birthday. Oh, what was going on? It's too late to save me, isn't it? You mustn't say things like that. How much longer do I have? Will I make it another month? Saiki lowered his eyes. No guarantees then. Oh crap. Please, doctor. I just need 3 more weeks. Please. Do whatever you can to let me live for just 3 more weeks. I can't die yet. Dr. Saiki nodded, a thoughtful look on his face. Is there something you can do? Please. I don't want to die yet. I haven't done anything yet. Please, just a little more time. There's a life-prolonging procedure. Highly experimental. However, I don't care about the risks. I just don't want to die yet. There's something called an artificial liver system. Clinical trials have only just been concluded in Japan. Although a liver dialysis machine can be thought of as a sort of artificial liver, an actual liver carries out much more complicated metabolic reactions that dialysis cannot completely replace. For this reason, biohybrid liver replacements combining mechanical functions with active live liver cells from pigs are currently under research, with clinical tests have been conducted in the United States. Having been conducted, I guess. The hope is that these bioartificial devices will someday be able to keep those with failed livers alive until the necessary transplants are available. Again, that's pretty crazy. It's a device that uses cells harvested from pigs. I don't think he needed to know that part. If things go well, rather than just 3 weeks, it might be possible to keep you alive until a donor turns up. The mention of pig cells was startling, but right now was no time to be squeamish. Do it. Please, doctor. If there's even the slightest chance, it's worth it. Come on, Takuya, don't die. After Takuya was rushed to the ICU, Suzune went to check up on him every day, without regard for her own well-being. Day after day she visited, only to be told that he was still in an unconscious state. 3 weeks went by without a change. Then, one morning, while passing by the kitchenette on her way to the ICU, Suzune overheard some nurses talking. Did you hear? Takuya has regained consciousness. For better or for worse. Poor kid. He keeps saying that he doesn't want to die yet. That he wants to live. Oh, that's so... A kid saying that is just... That's just about one of the worst things ever, isn't it? That he wants to live. He's only what, 14? The young nurse's voice was tearful. Suzune felt a new kind of pain in her chest. He's running out of time for transplant. And with the rare blood type. Oh. Rare blood type? Suzune stopped in her tracks, then rushed back to the kitchenette. Excuse me, what do you mean by rare blood type? The moment she saw Suzune, the nurse climbed up and tried to slip away. Please, hold on. That rare blood type. Is it Bombay? Suzune shouted. The nurses exchanged an awkward look with one another, and though neither of them said anything, Suzune knew that she was right. So he's trying to stay alive in order to be in the age range for her, I guess. Since he thinks that it would just magically work after he hits his 15th birthday. That's harsh, man. That's... oh, man. Takuya has Bombay blood too. This was a hospital with high-end facilities that drew patients with incurable diseases from all over the country, so maybe it wasn't such a remarkable coincidence. Transfusions for rare blood types such as Bombay were difficult to come by at a regional hospital. There were some advantages to having another such patient on hand nearby, but there were downsides too. Now the inexplicable behavior of the doctors and nurses made sense. They don't want both of them to die at the same time. They've been trying to keep Suzune and Takuya from each discovering that the other had Bombay blood. It was unsettling enough to know that someone else with a blood type only possessed by a few dozen other people in all of Japan was hospitalized right alongside you. Sorry, it's getting hard to read. But when both of you were waiting for compatible donors in the hope of receiving a transplant, that was enough to upset anyone's composure. How must Takuya have felt when she told him that she had Bombay blood as well? If I die, she could live. Something like that must have crossed his mind. The fact that he'd started studying up about transplants again must mean he'd been thinking of something. What in the world was he thinking? If our positions were reversed, what would I have done? Suzune knew what she had to do. She headed for the ICU. She got there just as Dr. Saeki, who was her own attending physician as well, emerged from inside. Miss Endo! The doctor stopped, surprised. Suzune drew herself upright and looked him right in the eye. Doctor, please use my liver for a transplant for Takuya. You can perform a living liver transplant, right? If you need to take half or even 2/3 of it, then please, by all means. For a moment, Dr. Saiki looked as if he'd taken a punch to the face, but soon his expression resolved into a sad smile. You heard about the blood. Suzune nodded. I'm afraid it won't be possible. A living liver transplant is dangerous enough for a healthy person. Someone in your condition would never be able to tolerate the surgery. You can do it when my time comes then, Suzune said. Regardless, Miss Endo, I can't carry out a living liver transplant between complete strangers. The law doesn't allow it. If the two of you got married, that would be a different story, but that's not possible either. Neither you nor Takuya can legally marry until you're 18. That's just crazy! But they could do it if she died, right? Married. Suzune had never thought about such a thing, but if marrying Takuya would make the surgery possible, she'd do whatever it took. But apparently the law wasn't going to allow for that either. Well, I don't care what the law says. If I'm the only person who can save Takuya, then please, take my liver. Doctor, please. I'm afraid what you're asking simply can't be done. You need to focus on your own condition and on getting better yourself. I'm beyond saving anyway though, right? So please, I'm begging you. Takuya needs... As Suzune grabbed hold of the doctor's gown, pleading, a sharp pain shot through her chest. Oh god, she's not gonna shock him as well, is she? The galloping heartbeat was back. No, her pulse had never been quite this erratic before. Her mouth opened and closed reflexively. She was unable to breathe. Doctor, please. Oh crap. An electrical shock went through her from the implanted defibrillator. The world faded as she slowly collapsed to the floor. I guess this is where her condition worsens then. Oh man, I don't know who I want to live or to die here. I'd like both of them to live somehow, but someone else would have to die. Suzune had a long, long dream. Her father was in that dream. And though Suzune couldn't clearly remember her face, her late mother was there, too, trying desperately to save her. And then there was Takuya. What about her brother? Takuya was smiling. A genuine smile. A smile that Suzune had never seen. Takuya's mouth was moving, but no sound came out. She tried to read his lips. Thanks, you. Thank you? Wait, what do you mean? Please tell me she just survived it. Suzune cried out as she woke. She was staring up at the familiar ceiling. She was back in her own room. She spotted her older brother, Achi, sleeping in a folding chair nearby. I can jump towards him? I can't jump to him, okay. Achi. The word creaked raspily from her throat. Huh? Suzune, you awake? Her brother rose from the chair, then excitedly scampered out of the room. With a start, Suzune realized something was attached to her chest. She felt a peculiar sensation, 6 distinct tingles, all running from the center to the left side of her chest. Electrocardiograph electrodes. She followed the leads that ran from her chest to the monitor by her pillow, and was surprised to see the wafer moving across it. It was her pulse, and, amazingly, the rhythm was solid and strong, nothing like the one she'd been familiar with for so long. Oh, please no. No, that's not my pulse. Suzune realized what she was seeing. She understood instinctively. This heart. It was Takuya's. Achi returned with Dr. Saiki, who proceeded to check the various monitoring devices by the bed, nodding and smiling with satisfaction. It's good to see you awake again. For now, there don't appear to be any signs of rejection. Of course, we'll need to be vigilant, but this new heart seems to be a good match for you, Miss Endo. It's Takuya's, isn't it? Please, tell me it's not. I told you I wanted him to have my liver. Takuya was dead. If she had his heart now, there was no way he was still alive. Dr. Saiki looked away, and for a while he said nothing. When it comes to who your donor is, I'm not at liberty to say anything. You understand that, right? So instead, let me tell you how things went for Takuya in the end. You two were friends. Boyfriend and girlfriend, maybe? Either way, you have a right to know about his passing. Takuya's passing. Game, I didn't need these fields, by the way. Suzune had already imagined as much, but now she couldn't hold back the tears. Takuya is dead. He's dead. Dr. Saiki went on. Takuya begged me to help keep him alive just a little bit longer. His family agreed, and so he proceeded with an artificial liver system, a treatment that's relatively untested here in Japan. For a while his symptoms abated, and he even regained consciousness. The doctor took a breath, but it was already too late. He lapsed into a coma due to acute liver failure, and then developed complications, a condition known as DIC, which causes clotting in blood vessels throughout the body. Initially we thought he might have hepatic encephalopathy, but a CT scan of the head revealed cerebral edema. He was declared brain dead 2 days after his birthday. Oh, fucking hell. He was 15 years old. I'm guessing there's some kind of legal thingy they have to abide to, which means that they have to be 15 years or older for the age range of 17, for her age range or something. I'm pretty sure he read that. And I'm pretty sure he tried to live long enough. Dr. Saiki gave her a significant look. Suzune wondered what that implied. He was insistent that he make it to 15, Saiki continued. He said it was something he absolutely needed to do. On his birthday, he called for his family. And told them, oh, fuck me. I want to register as an organ donor. Huh? Here in Japan, individuals under 15 years of age aren't allowed to give consent for organ donation. If Takuya had died before he turned 15, then his heart, all of his organs rather, could not have been provided to a patient in need. Wait, what do they do with kids that are younger than 15 then? I mean, do they just never get these donor organs then? And that was something he wished for very much. Takuya had been reading up and studying, and he learned that he needed to survive until he turned 15, and he asked for life-prolonging measures to be taken. Also, that he could register as a donor in order to give me his heart. And I don't know who it was, but apparently a surgeon was able to perform a transplant for a patient believed to be an ideal match for his heart. Huh? Evidently this patient was also comatose and in an extremely dire state. But from what I hear, the surgery seems to have gone quite well. Of course, I do not know the identity of the patient either, yeah. Suzune strained to move her right hand, sitting at the top of her chest. Underneath the layers of the bandages, she could feel a heartbeat, steady and strong. Takuya's heart is beating within me. He left a letter for you. I haven't looked at what's inside, so I'm not sure what it says. Dr. Saiki set a white envelope down on the bedside table, then left the room. Don't make Achi read it, please. I can't do that right now. Seriously. Achi, read it to me. No, Suzune, why? I'm on the verge of fucking crying. I can't do Achi's voice now. She didn't feel strong enough to read it herself, but she didn't want to wait. You sure? Achi asked. Alright then. Let's see. Achi opened the envelope, slid the letter out and began to read. Suzune. Let's read it in Takuya's voice. That would be better, since it's Takuya's letter. If you're reading this letter, that means everything has gone well. Congratulations. And also, Thank you. Ever since I became sick, now even before then, I hadn't known what it was like to be happy. I hated the world. I went through my whole life just thinking about how pointless my existence was, an excuse for a human being with no reason to live. What did it matter if I was here or not? I can't even pause because the game is just going on. I hated that I was going to die so young, but at the same time, it seemed pointless to try to live any longer. And then I met you. I fell in love with you. I love you, Suzune, with all of my heart. With you in this world, I wanted to go on living a little longer, because living would actually have some meaning. When I found out that we had the same blood, I was shocked. It had to be fate, right? Neither of us was going to be able to survive on our own. But if one of us sacrificed ourselves for the other one could go on living, and I wouldn't be able to bear any world without you in it, Suzune. The answer was clear. I want you to have my heart, Suzune. It's the best possible thing for both of us. You're probably a little sad knowing that I'm gone now. I'll be happy if that's the case, but will you please be happy for me, now that my heart is inside you? That would make me even happier than anything. Thank you so much for taking my heart. It'll beat for you as hard as it can. I hope. I wish we could have talked more. If it had only been possible, I would have liked to have gone somewhere with you. But it's okay. This way, I get to be with you forever. I won't be lonely anymore. Goodbye. I'm looking forward to our future together. Takuya Kazama. Archie's voice grew gradually more hoarse as he read. By the end, he was struggling not to weep. Damn it, did it really have to be like this? Suzune was more astounded than she was sad. Of course, she was upset that Takuya had died. And she was glad that she was going to live. But above all, she was amazed by the fact that Takuya had cared for her as much as he had. That he'd fought so hard to prolong his own life just to save hers. That moved her more deeply than anything she'd ever known. Maybe a young crush couldn't be called real love. But that didn't make it any less pure. Thank you. Goodbye, and I'm looking forward to our future together. Okay, so, okay. Sorry for the... let's call it bad reading for the past 15 minutes or something, I don't know. It just hit me harder than I thought it would. So, I'm just going to leave you with the credits here and say goodbye, and next time we'll probably resuming with the true end, and hopefully it won't be as tear-jerky as this was, because honestly I'm not good with that stuff. Especially not if it involves kids, I guess. Or selfless sacrifices like that. I mean... thank you, Takuya. And goodbye.